Hi, everyone. Welcome to the ninth episode of Lemonology, the knowledge sharing platform. My name is Grant Pringle. I'm a senior account manager at Pill Lemon Agency. And today we've got a special guest who is Lydia. She's our operations director at Pill Lemon. Hi, Lydia. It's
Hi.
been a while since we last spoke.
It's been a minute. It's been a hot
Yeah,
minute.
pretty much. Brilliant. So, Lydia, basically, I'd just love to share with the viewers. So today we're going to talk about case studies and what goes behind the scenes involving, to build a really solid case study. And I think what we'll be doing is you'll be giving us a great rundown of one of our subsidiaries, which is Pill Lemon Cafe. So, let's kick it off. And there's quite a number of questions. That I'd love to ask you that goes, what goes into building a solid case study. And the first question I have in mind is how long should a case study be in general?
Now, I think the best range is probably that 4,000 to 6,000 word mark because you want to give your reader something to read.
Hmm.
They want to know what happened, how it happened, the results. If you're not answering their questions, you haven't written enough. You want them to read it and then be interested in calling you and contacting you, but not read it and just think, well, what happened? Well, how'd you do that? You want to be able to answer those questions without disclosing sensitive information or like any trade secrets. But I
Definitely.
don't think you can do that thoroughly and good, even below like 1,000 words. You can do a little blurb like with a video case study, but there's no way you can do that in a nice written long form, like it's be like a long form blog piece. You can also do like monster case studies that are like 10,000 words, and you can go above and beyond. If it was a really long-term relationship, you could make a short book out of it, and you can outline that entire journey from your client finding you to onboarding to the project to them leaving and why they left and everything.
Oh, wow. So, no, I mean, I think it basically sums up, you don't want to give too less information and too much information, but somewhere between the lines where you can meet it halfway. I think basically, some of the things you probably want to point out in a case study, right, is the who, the what, the when, where, and how, and challenges. So these are the types of questions that people need answers to. So I take it that's kind of what you've outlined for Pill Lemon Cafe's case study.
Exactly, exactly. If you're writing a case study, you need to have just those basic questions outlined first. You can figure out headings and stuff later, but they need to know the who, the what, the when, the why, the how, and the in between with it. Just start with answering the basic questions. If you've never written a case study and don't know where to begin, just pick those first. You can build everything else around it, but answer
Around
the
it.
basic thought provoking questions.
Because it all boils down to research at the end of the day. So besides building a case study, upon a project that you've built, I'm sure there's a lot of there's a lot of research that kind of went behind the scenes to conduct that project. So that's some of the outlines. I'm sure the who, the what, the when kind of relates to and answers to. So um, and obviously, for your bigger projects, would you have more words compared to 4,000 or 6,000? So, kind of your big detail types of projects. Um, how many words would you look at that?
Big detailed projects can easily push close to 8,000 words. And that's like going into detail. That's not just
Yeah,
like our let's say our SEO clients, that's not just slapping in a screenshot and saying, here's what we did. It's breaking down what's actually in that picture. Make it so if the picture wasn't there, you don't need a visual. You should have them, but you want to be detailed enough that they don't need a reference to look at to understand what you're talking about. Simple, but in depth.
very in depth. Yes, that's a great way to go about it. And then, Lydia, if I had to ask you, in terms of picking clients, how would you actually pick a good client to conduct a project? I mean, to conduct a case study, or let's say, how would you actually pick a good client or a project to conduct a case study?
Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to answer it because I don't want to give you the do 'em
Okay.
all. But I'd say it's industry dependent too. But if it's like catering side, just wait a week or so after you finish the event, get some good feedback.
Hmm.
But if you have a good ongoing relationship with the client and there's someone that's continually renew, you could write something very good and thorough, like at least on the SEO front. Like month 2, month 3, you have enough data and information. You could give like a project update style case
Yeah.
study. It wouldn't be a start finish by no means. But the longer a client's with you, the better the case study will be. Um,
And I
I
think it's
also like
important
to
to have enough dialogue, right, to show enough documentation along the way. So that's quite an important component.
exactly. And like challenges aren't a bad thing in case studies because
Okay.
then you really get a chance to showcase problem solving
Oh
because
yeah,
not everything is always smooth sailing. So
exactly,
pick the clients that you had to overcome something big. There's huge hiccups. Maybe you dropped the ball and completely forgot about blog publishing for something. Maybe if it's like catering side, like, oh, I didn't order this wine and this is tomorrow. I'm not getting this. And now you're like, crap, I need to figure out how I'm going to get this. It's You can showcase that you're human, but
exactly.
you solved it. You solved it, you did it, you overcame it and still got great results. You didn't just hit a wall and leave.
And it's all about navigating, just to find different ways and means and how you actually got there to, cross that stormy sea to get to the other side. So, yeah, I
Right.
think that kind of speaks for itself. And then I just wanted to also get to, in terms of the contents, what should one include in the case study? Like, we obviously touched on from the research component, like the who, what, when, where, and challenges. But in terms of the actual components, what would you generally include in the case study?
So I'm going to go right back to a recent one I wrote on our cafe build.
Okay,
That's that's a unique one because there's so much that went into it. So it's more
exactly.
than like, you did a coffee shop, you got it going. We had to find the space, we had to figure out legal forms, figure out accounting, develop menus, do the build, the design, all those components. So you want to think about that when figuring out what you want to include. If it's
Hmm.
like, let's think agency side, you can always contact the client first if you can like disclose names and company names. Some prefer not, some don't care. But you'll be like, my
Yes,
client's name was
I think the
X,
legal
they're in
component's so important,
industry.
hey?
Yeah. But you want to outline everything you can
Yeah,
about them, the industry, the hyper specifics without disclosing like your secret sauce. No matter what it was,
yeah.
like Deliveroo is a good section example for me because I spent a long time getting us on that platform and then studying and finding our secret sauce, what's going to make it so we get sales. So I can say I made tweaks to the description, the style of ads and offers, and how things are placed, and changing up descriptions to have keywords. And it's specific enough that someone can be like, oh, I could do this, or I could go get help, but not fully give away exactly how I changed the description, exactly how I changed the
Like
menu.
the actual
And
the technicality behind it,
yeah,
right?
you
So,
can,
yeah,
like a teaser, you want to say what you did without really tell them what it was, because then, I mean, you give away too much, and then people are just gonna try to do it themselves, and some will be successful, some won't. You want
exactly.
to show that you can do it, you can duplicate it, and you can do it for them, but they need you to do it. All about the secret sauce.
That's it, hey? But just don't give that away, just show them the secret sauce, but just don't let them have a taste of it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Let them know that you have.
Definitely. And then I just wanted to find out, like, there's obviously when it comes to pictures, obviously from a client confidentiality perspective, it's always great to get permission from clients. But in terms of pictures, what pictures are kind of acceptable to include in case studies, or are they
You can go with,
they are acceptable? I mean, are they acceptable in general just to include pictures?
oh yeah, especially I mean, you're getting into like the long form written pieces if it's not a video case study.
Okay.
And you can have the most interesting words in the world, but if it starts getting long, you need something that breaks it up more than just headings and whatnot. You need that picture. So good things I've included before is like dialogue, and I'll take a screenshot of my inbox and just show all the threads with one client. And I use monosnap so I can blur out their names.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's
So
a great tool.
then it's not
Definitely.
disclosing their name, but you can see like this is consistently the same person. They're not just taking a picture of the inbox. You can,
Hmm.
again, thinking SEO client front, go into Google Search Console or wherever and take a screenshot of that, and you can show comparative traffic. You can do the same in Deliveroo.
Okay.
Compare the last 28 days to the current 28 days. It's
Yeah.
anything that really ties your words into being able to show you did it. And that's where the strength in case studies come from, that it has so many viable reasons for you to write them and publish them, but it's just another way to show prospective clients that you can do it for them.
And I think it's also
um,
a good case of proof. Proof is in the pudding, so you've got those screenshots to kind of back up basically what you're chatting about, what you're obviously trying to
exactly.
get across. And besides it breaking the content, visually making it more aesthetically appealing, your case study, I think, it definitely adds a lot of, credible value to backing your information up. And especially when it comes to figures, numbers. Obviously, with SEO, there's quite a lot of numbers involved. Um, going behind the scenes just to get sort of data. It's all about turning raw data into meaningful data, and I think that's where photos definitely have. And infographics, I think, is another one you definitely work on. So I think it's also another great way of how to depict and get the information across in a more um, user friendly format.
Exactly, and like you said, it backs up your words. If you don't have the picture proof there, it's just fluff.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be well written and be very correct, but if I can't see it happened, it didn't
Exactly.
happen.
They
And
don't
that's like the
happen.
big point of including pictures, is show it happened.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's also, it also breaks the content down, because you just don't want content at the end of the day on your case study, because it's really going to bore people. But those pictures definitely break up the reader. From a user perspective, even if I'm reading a piece of content, I'd love to just see some, and it's just great to give the mind a bit of a break when you're reading through so much content, especially 4 to 6,000 words. So, pictures definitely help in that respect. So that's definitely great. But that's some really good examples, Lydia, that you've provided. And more importantly, when it comes to formatting a case study, how should one actually go about doing that?
I think the simplest way I can put it is think of it like a book.
Okay.
It might not be big book length, but you have your case study title. It should often, you gotta think keywords too. You gotta put your SEO mind into it and think,
Okay.
what should this actually be saying? But focus on a title and be like, Deliveroo case study, cafe build case study. You want someone to look at the title wherever it's published and make it stupid simple, make them be able to see, like, this is going to be a story of what happened. And that's where you start. And then we move through headings. Header ones answer the core who, what, when, where, how, why questions. And you don't put it like that.
Yeah.
But that, like I said, for the cafe build, it's menu development, it's delivery platforms, it's local marketing. And then you have
Got you.
subheadings after. So level two. Um, so then under, let's say,
So you got your
local marketing.
H3s, your like H3s and H4s under your main
Yes,
subheadings. So we were obviously chatting earlier about the who, what, when, where, and how challenges. So that can also be defined into certain headings based upon what you're trying to get across.
exactly. You go title, heading, then you keep breaking it down. So
Got you.
local marketing, flyering, and then you can do that even further and have residential flyering, business flyering, and keep going. You can make it so you can get as granular as possible. Again, all in the sake of being as informative as possible. Because I don't think if you don't break it down that way, I don't think you can deliver a piece that actually gives a
Yeah,
high level of value because it's
exactly.
missing things.
Yeah.
You can say local marketing and you're gonna miss stuff, but then you sit and you do, okay, well, it's XYZ. And then, like, oh, well, this had point A, B, C within it. And just break it down. The further you can break it down, the better it gets. Because it's just more examples of how you piece it together. Because then you think about it reverse and it all just goes back together to one big
Def-
piece.
yeah, I think another way is, if you obviously have if you have a lot of certain type of headings, just a good way is to also include a introductory click through section, so you can obviously
Yeah.
pinpoint to where you want to get to what section you want to go to. So that's a great way.
Need more
Just
content for sure.
yeah, definitely.
That's once they start getting long.
Brilliant. And then Lydia, talking about what to include in case studies, what should someone exclude from case studies? So I know there's quite a few things we spoke just now about the legality point of view. When it comes to licensing, or you don't want to give too much of your recipe away, right? So if you can just elaborate on that and just give our viewers and listeners out there an understanding of what you would actually exclude from your case studies.
So besides like your secret sauce, that's like the number one thing. It comes down, I think, case to case basis and preference. Um, if you're in a highly competitive niche, I wouldn't give away your clients' names because if your competitor's looking at your site, it could give them potential like poaching ability, like, they're still with you for this, we do this. And it gives them a chance to weasel in. Um, if there's not really a risk of that for you, especially if a contract has ended and it ended on good terms, I'd say include it. Um, if you're doing videos in it, biggest things like don't show passwords. Be sure you're not showing anything people can pause and get to.
Very
That
important.
can be
Yes.
it's you don't think about it until it happens, and it can be a really critical error there. Um, and for me, in my preference, the big thing is no like client names. So company name, okay, but I wouldn't really want to break down their team and exactly who I spoke to. And that's me and my like just my privacy preferences. Some people don't mind. And it's okay
Mm.
in a lot of instances, but that's just my personal preference. I'll disclose my team's names because they're going to be known, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, this is my client. I talked to this person and that person and this and them. And just, that's just my preference. So that's just where my line is. And some people, again, they're okay with it. And you can do that. I just don't prefer it.
Yeah. And you said you also want to give a little bit, like just the tip of the iceberg away. You don't want to give the whole kind of iceberg away based upon, when it comes to the technicalities or the optimization side of things, or especially when it comes to productivity. So those things you can definitely touch on it, but just don't give too much of your formula away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can mention your favorite tools to use, but I wouldn't say exactly what you did in there to get the results you did.
And obviously, when it comes to trade secrets, those are the last things you would want to give away. So no, that definitely sums it up, Lydia. I think most of the stuff is kind of a no-brainer, but I think there's a lot of us that tend to forget of all the small nuances that one needs to be mindful of about what not to include in the case study. So, um, so getting to the publishing side. where, you obviously want your case study to aesthetically look very professional, very clean, slick, and neat. Where would one? How would you go about actually publishing your case studies?
The first and foremost place I would go is your own website. You can have
Ah,
your
definitely.
like
Yes. How can you forget
friendly
about that?
section. I lost my word for a second
Yeah.
there. Have a heading that says evidence or case studies, and then a drop down menu. And that menu can have like interesting teaser titles, like 0 to 20K in 3 months, or 56% growth in 6 months,
Yeah.
or make it simple like WordPress case study, Joomla case study, so on and so forth. Make it so they can go hunt for what they want. Or you can just have a general case study page, kind of set up like a blog format, especially if you're making them long. You don't want the never ending
Mm.
scroll, but having nice tiles where they can look at the title and then go to it. And there's also opportunity to, once you
And
do that,
those titles are obviously based on search intent, right? So based upon what people are looking to search for, one of our case studies could potentially pop up. So, for example, Paul Lemon's got a lot of SEO case studies, from our agency division. So, from a search intent perspective, if anyone's searching e-commerce or B2B or any specific type of industry, from a keyword angle, your H titles could obviously be named, have kind of naming conventions with your keywords included.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. Um, Again, I keep saying it goes back to it. Just make it stupid simple. You want
That's it.
people are always going to look for a case study for them. They don't want to just look at case study, case study, case study. If I have a WordPress site, I want to go find a WordPress case study. I don't care what else you do. You got to think like the client and to feel like you're self-centered about it. It's the best way when you're thinking of the title is what's in it for me. And
Yeah.
if you have that mindset when you're writing it, then you can be like, this is what they're going to look for. This is what they're going to search. This is how I want it to be on Google, on my site, everywhere it needs to be. I want them to look at it and immediately relate and then go read.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I think there's a lot of type of examples. The great thing with websites too is you can even have a video of your case study. So instead of having the content piece, which is great for SEO purposes, you could also do a video visualizing all aspects of what kind of went, how you went about everything, just like a story type, like taking the user through type of a journey process based upon all the relevant categories that you're taking them through.
Exactly. Videos, they're beautiful format for case studies.
Yeah,
Again, just like the pictures in a written piece, it's the show, not tell. You can in a video, you can walk them through everything. You can show them the conversations and move through tabs. And it's
yeah,
often much easier to absorb because you're watching it happen. You're watching how the results played out,
how they played out.
and you
That's it.
don't have to less mental load. Like you don't have to like sit and read and think about it. And then it also gives you the opportunity, again, video, new format. You can share it on your company's socials. You can have it on YouTube and have a playlist for case studies. You can have nice tiles on your website
Hmm.
that just has nice watch me prompts with it. And it's just another way to really display your skills.
And it also
So make it
builds
easy to
credibility,
absorb.
based upon your business. And at the end of the day, it's just giving you that extra proof factor that it's basically based upon what you've built. It's the proof is in the pudding once again.
And it's convenient too. Videos are
Yeah,
convenient. Not everybody has the time or wants to make the time to sit and read
that's it.
something long. But even if they're not actively watching it, they can listen to it and hear what you're saying. And if you're thorough in the way you speak, they don't
Yeah,
need to watch it. They can understand it fully just by how you're explaining it. And then
and
they
yet
don't have to sit and they can walk around and listen to it and do what they're going to do without having to sit and hone in and process.
Definitely. And I guess you can also create audio type of case studies too for people who prefer just to listen. So you can have sort of sound, active listening, well, incorporating active listening, but more importantly, just focusing on the key fundamentals of, in a more of a short summary version of your case study, in an audible format. So I think it's all about the medium, hey Lydia. So it just boils down to the type of medium you're trying to
Exactly.
get across and how you can tailor it, to content, to video, to audio, to all types of different mediums you want to get across. So from your angle, it's important to also tailor the content according to that medium.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because like you're a 10,000 word piece, you are not fully narrating that in a video. It's
No,
not happening.
no,
But you also don't need to
yeah,
because it's much easier. Again, video, you can make it shorter because you're showing it so you don't have to narrate it as in depth. You can still go in depth, but it's not going to
yeah,
be this 30-minute. You can if you want to. It's not going to be this 30-minute recording though. You can make
yeah.
very nice sub 15-minute case studies. Even a nice 5-minute punchy one will still deliver what you're trying to communicate because you can say, this is what I did. This is a little of how I did it. These are the current results. And then you can
Got you.
end it with, I'm predicting XYZ is going to happen if we continue this trend. And
I
then just
think
have a
you
nice little short blurb in the
That's a really great
description.
way of doing it. Yeah, especially it depends on the nature and length of your content, like you said. So you also don't want to bore or scare the viewer away to that degree. So just have the most important, relevant information. If you're trying to get across information in a more shorter format, like video or even audio, I think that's your content. You obviously want as much detailed info there because people can always relate to it at a later stage.
Exactly.
Brilliant. And Lydia, when it comes to titles, how would you actually title your case study? I know we spoke about your various headings within your case study. It obviously seems like a straightforward part, but in terms of that, how would you go about getting to the actual title of your case study?
That's actually one of the things I tend to do last.
Okay.
Some people start with it. I do it in reverse because I
Okay.
always change my mind. Um,
With you.
because the evolution of one of ours was initially like cafe case study. That's not interesting. And then it went from Pearl Lemon Cafe, semicolon, case study, building a cafe from the ground up. Um, and I think for me, it comes easier when I'm done because I've just gone through it. So now I have more of a feel for what the
Exactly.
energy or how
Yeah.
it
You've
feels.
got
And
a
then
you've got a
I
nice holistic
title.
overview of everything now. So it gives you more peace of mind to think of more relatable topics, not just your general type of topics that everyone would probably go for. Something unique and different, right?
Exactly. Like, good example, like, there's lots of web design and development sites out there, and you'll see a lot of general, like, Wix case study, WordPress case study, and so many people title them that way, it's almost a certain level of fatigue you get. If you're a client researching that, it starts to just feel bland. So you don't want general, you want it to really be introduced as growth, success, what happened, um, especially putting in stats like percentages in your titles. It avoids
Definitely.
that generalization.
Yes. And you're actually tailoring it to because it's kind of the proof is in the pudding. You're showing it right there. The confidence once again comes across based upon how you got to those results, and it's kind of giving those results in a more defined way through your title.
Exactly, and it's supposed to
It's
pull them in. You don't
Yeah,
case studies aren't always super exciting because 'cause they're meant to be informative, but you still wanna pull
yeah,
people in. You don't want them to be like, "Oh, it's another one."
exactly. No, definitely. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head on that one, Lydia. I think titles are one of the hardest things you can ever think of because just there's so much competition out there. Number one, and based upon how many case studies already built. Like you also said, it's important from a keyword angle to include relevant keywords, but you also want to stand apart from your competition to have a more dynamic approach to how you guys do case studies. So, no, that definitely answers everything. And then, just in general, what would a case study help? What would it actually do for the company in general?
I think top down, it gives you a certain level of authority. It shows you have
Okay.
experience. It helps your SEO because again, you can get some good keywords in there. Um, even down to it adds substance to your
Mm,
website. It's more for people to explore and stay on your site and really feel more emotionally and mentally invested in you and your brand. And that's what you want.
definitely.
You want to show again expertise, get those keywords in so Google sees you as having expertise and people.
Okay.
There's if you do a well-built case study, it can't really hurt you. It only does
Yeah.
good stuff. It's you do a video, you now have fresh content for your channel, for your socials, fresh content for your website. It's just builds you upward.
And at the end of the day, that's going to create more trust for your brand, right? And create more sales
Exactly.
eventually, because once people seen the nature of what went behind to build that specific project, by finding solutions, you're going different, just finding different means and ways to optimize that specific project. That definitely can create a lot of trust and certainty within the brand. Um, and obviously, it all boils down to sales to grow the company at the end of the day. So that can definitely add a lot of value. Um, and like we said, trust is the five-letter word you want to go for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, there's so much competition out there. You want to be the one that's trusted. It's not just the one that can get you results. You want to have a good relationship with your potential clients, with your existing clients. It's the trust has to be there in you, your brand, and the belief that
mm,
you'll get them results too. If they don't trust you, they're not choosing you. They're not going to stay long. They're
yeah,
going to go find someone they do trust.
exactly, definitely. And I think, Lydia, getting to our last question, I think there's just so much, we've already hit our ninth question on that. So the last one for today is basically just getting to, I just want to get a kind of an understanding is what is the actual hardest thing about writing case studies? Because there's just so much one has to think about. There's so much, from you as the person developing the case study, you want to obviously ensure you don't omit or exclude any relevant information. So, how would you go about planning your case studies, and what is the hardest thing about writing a case study? Where do you actually start from?
So for me, I think the hardest part again is the title because
Yeah.
you want it to be catchy and encompass everything. But the part that does take me the longest is the initial outline, not even like mapping out exactly what's in sections. It's picking all the subheadings and being sure, did I go granular enough?
Okay.
Are they going to come out of this and just have more questions than answers? Um, and just being sure everything that needs to be there is there, everything you want to be there is there, and then ensuring that you don't have missing pieces
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
you just want to be sure it's thorough. And then from there, you can hit your word count. I mean, the next hardest thing is just ensuring you have the content to reach your word count goals. It's not the end of the world if you can't hit that 5,000, 7,000 mark, but you want to be sure you're at least hitting your mark and answering all the questions and have well thought out headings and subheadings and just making it simple to navigate. It's really easy to have post thoughts as you're writing, and it can get messy fast because you don't want to backtrack and you're trying to include it where you're writing right now because it's when you thought of it. So, organization can be a tough bit. but well worth sitting and planning out first. You can go for it, just go into writing, but you're gonna have a heavy
Yeah.
editing section, making sure you don't have to remove pieces and move them. Where is it gonna make most sense logically? Because you want it to have a good flow. That can be really hard to achieve once you start getting into lengthier, informative pieces.
Sure. There's just so much. And like you said, the last thing you want to do is just miss out any important information as well. And, just to summarize everything, it's about structuring your content from A to Z, but more importantly, finding that correct title, right? You just want to ensure, based upon all the relevant categories and subcategories and how granular you're going into your content, you also want to ensure all of that summarizes to the actual title you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Great. Well, Lydia, I think you've definitely given us a lot of awesome tips on how to go about, conducting a case study. And we really look forward to you at some point sharing us with the case study for Pill Lemon Cafe. Once it's obviously concluded, it would be great just to share that with, and maybe we can share it down in the section below at some point.
I actually think it is. I think it finally got published. My monster 10,000 piece.
Lovely.
So I for sure can get that too, so we can get it in the description. So
Perfect. That'll be
again, show
fantastic.
and tell, have a nice cohesive piece to show what everything I'm talking about in a written out piece.
That's fantastic. Well, Lydia, once again, it's been really insightful. And without further ado, it would be great just to have you back on board. There's quite a lot of other topics we would like. Perhaps from an operations perspective, we can bring you back down. Just so everyone knows, Lydia is the operations director at Pill Lemon Group. Not just the agency part, there's a whole lot of other subsidiaries, which we already discussed. There's Pill Lemon Cafe, there's Pill Lemon Properties, there's Pill Lemon Sales, there's everything Pill Lemon, let's put it that way. So for more information, you can always head on to our website, pilllemongroup.com, and find out more about our businesses. Anyway, love you all. Take care and have a really great